When Clara Martinez Musk discovered her husband's most dangerous secret, everyone expected her to be angry. They expected her to feel betrayed. They expected her to walk away from the man who had been lying to her for months. No one expected her to travel through time to save the world. This is the story of how the wife of the world's most famous businessman uncovered a project so impossible, so dangerous, and so necessary that it would force her to make the ultimate choice: preserve the life she knew, or sacrifice everything to save everyone who had ever lived. It started with a simple question on a Tuesday night in March 2024, and it ended with a decision that would reshape reality itself. Clara Martinez Musk pushed open the heavy oak door to Elon's home office. The room was dark except for the blue glow from 3 computer screens. Her husband sat hunched over his desk, fingers flying across the keyboard. The clock on the wall showed to 47 a.m. Elon, she whispered into the darkness, "You missed dinner again, and bedtime stories with the kids." He jumped like someone had shocked him. His hands moved fast to close the windows on his computer screens. Clara had been married to the world's most famous businessman for 2 years now. She knew his work habits were crazy. But this felt different. "Wrong. Sorry, love," Elon said. He rubbed his tired eyes. "Just working on something big." Clara stepped closer. She was a smart woman. She used to work for NASA, building computers for space rockets. She could tell when someone was hiding something. Right now, her husband was definitely hiding something. "What kind of work keeps you up this late?" she asked. "Is it about the Mars rockets?" "The electric cars." Elon's jaw got tight. "Just some new ideas for Neuralink, the brain chip company. Nothing you need to worry about." But Clara did worry. In all their time together, through rocket explosions and car factory problems, she had never heard Elon sound so secretive. He usually loved talking about his work. He would explain every detail until she begged him to stop. "Okay," she said slowly, "but maybe you should get some sleep. You look exhausted." "Soon," Elon promised. "Just need to finish this one thing." Clara kissed his forehead and left the room. But she didn't go to bed. Instead, she sat in the hallway and thought about the strange things she had noticed lately. 3 days ago, mysterious packages had arrived at their house. The delivery men wore no uniforms. The boxes had no return addresses. When she asked Elon about them, he said they were just computer parts. 2 days ago, men in dark suits had visited their Austin mansion. They stayed for hours in Elon's office with the door locked. When Clara asked who they were, Elon said they were just investors. Yesterday, she had seen Elon talking on the phone. In their backyard, he was speaking quietly and looking around like he was worried someone might hear him. When she asked about the call, he said it was just business. Just. Everything was just something normal. But normal people didn't act this way. The next morning, Clara made coffee and toast for breakfast. Elon came down looking even more tired than the night before. His phone was buzzing on the kitchen counter. "I'll get it," Clara said, reaching for the phone. "No," Elon said quickly. "Too quickly. I mean, it's probably just work stuff, boring meetings." But Clara had already seen the message on the screen. Her heart started beating fast. "Project Phoenix ready for Phase 2. Meet at Facility 7 tonight." Dr. K. Project Phoenix. Facility 7, Dr. K. What was her husband really doing? Elon saw her face and knew she had read the message. For a moment, they just looked at each other across the kitchen table. "Clara," he started to say. "Don't," she said, holding up her hand. "Don't lie to me anymore." "What is Project Phoenix?" "I can't tell you," Elon said quietly. "Not yet. It's too dangerous." "Dangerous for who?" "For me. For the kids. For the world. For everyone." Elon said, "Clara, you have to trust me. I'm trying to save people. But if this gets out before it's ready..." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. Clara could see the fear in his eyes. Real fear. The kind of fear that came from knowing something terrible. "How long?" she asked. "How long what?" "How long have you been lying to me?" Elon was quiet for a long time. 6 months, he finally said. 6 months. Half a year of lies. Half a year of secrets. Half a year of her husband working on something so dangerous he couldn't even tell his own wife. That evening, Clara watched Elon leave the house. He got into his silver Cybertruck and drove away into the Texas night. She waited exactly 10 minutes. Then she got into her own car and followed him. Whatever Project Phoenix was, whatever Facility 7 was, whatever Dr. K was doing to her husband, Clara was going to find out. Even if it killed her. She had no idea how close to the truth that thought really was. Clara gripped the steering wheel of her Tesla Model S as she followed Ellen's Cybertruck through the dark Texas roads. She kept her distance, staying far enough back that he wouldn't notice her headlights. Her heart was pounding like a drum in her chest. They drove for almost an hour, first through the city of Austin, then out into the countryside. The roads got smaller and darker. Clara had never been to this part of Texas before. There were no houses here, no streetlights, just empty fields and lonely trees. Finally, Ellen's truck turned into a driveway. Clara drove past and parked behind some trees. She grabbed her binoculars from the glove box and crept closer on foot. The building in front of her looked nothing like the other SpaceX facilities she had visited. It was smaller than a grocery store but built like a fortress. The walls were thick concrete with no windows. Strange metal pipes stuck out of the roof. Two security guards stood by the front door, checking IDs very carefully. Clara pulled out her phone and started taking pictures. The building had weird equipment on the roof that she had never seen before. Her phone's compass was spinning wildly, like something inside was messing with magnetic fields. Whatever was in there needed serious power and serious cooling. She watched Elon park his truck and walk to the entrance. The guards knew him. They waved him through without checking his ID. The heavy metal door closed behind him with a loud clang. Clara waited in the darkness for 2 hours. Other people arrived. She recognized some faces from news reports about SpaceX and Tesla. Smart engineers and scientists. All of them looked nervous. All of them were checked carefully before going inside. Finally, Clara snuck back to her car and drove home, but she couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the strange building and Ellen's worried face. The next day, while Elon was at his regular SpaceX office, Clara made a decision. She was going to hack into the SpaceX computer system. It wasn't as hard as it sounds. Clara used to work for NASA. She knew how these companies thought about computer security. She also still had friends who worked for SpaceX, friends who trusted her. She called her friend Jake, who worked in the IT department. "Hey Clara," Jake said when he answered his phone. "How's married life?" "Great," Clara lied. "Listen, I'm trying to surprise Elon for our anniversary. Can you help me find information about his current projects? I want to do something special related to his work." Jake was quiet for a moment. "That's sweet. But you know I can't give you access to company files." "I'm not asking for secrets," Clara said. "Just maybe you could look something up for me. I heard him mention something called Project Phoenix and Facility 7. The silence on the phone lasted so long that Clara thought Jake had hung up. "Jake, are you there, Clara?" Jake said slowly. "I can't find any Project Phoenix in our normal files, and I've never heard of Facility 7. What does that mean?" "It means if those things exist, they're in the black files, the super secret stuff that only a few people can access." Clara felt cold. "How secret are we talking? Government secret? Military secret? The kind of secret that could get people in serious trouble?" After Jake hung up, Clara sat in her kitchen and stared at her computer screen. Her husband was working on something so secret that even his own company didn't know about it. That evening, she tried a different approach. Clara had learned some computer hacking skills at NASA. She wasn't as good as the real hackers, but she knew enough to be dangerous. She spent 4 hours breaking through SpaceX's security systems. It was like solving a puzzle, finding weak spots, and slipping through them. Finally, she found a hidden database that most employees couldn't see. Her hands were shaking as she searched for Project Phoenix. What she found made her feel sick. The files were mostly encrypted, but she could read enough to understand the basics. Project Phoenix wasn't about rockets or cars or brain chips. It was about something that sounded impossible. The documents mentioned time displacement and temporal coordinates. There were blueprints for a machine that looked like nothing she had ever seen. It was shaped like a giant ring with thousands of wires and computers attached. But the worst part was the list of test subjects, real people who had volunteered to be part of the project. People whose names she recognized. At the bottom of the list was a name that made Clara's blood freeze: Maria Martinez. Maria was Clara's younger sister, the only family Clara had left after their parents died in a car crash 5 years ago. Maria was supposed to be traveling in Europe for work. She had been sending postcards and emails for months, but according to these files, Maria wasn't in Europe at all. She was part of Project Phoenix. She was a test subject for whatever impossible thing Elon was building. Clara's sister might be in terrible danger, and Clara had no idea where she really was. She printed out every file she could find and stuffed them into a folder. Then she grabbed her car keys and headed for the door. She was going back to that mysterious building. This time, she wasn't just going to watch from the trees. This time, she was going inside, even if it meant breaking the law. Even if it meant her marriage was over. Even if it meant risking her own life. Her sister was in trouble, and Clara was the only one who could save her. Clara sat in her car outside Facility 7, staring at the concrete building. It was 11 p.m. and the place looked like a prison. 2 guards still stood by the front door. Security cameras watched every corner. Getting inside seemed impossible, but Maria was in there somewhere. Clara was sure of it. She pulled out her phone and scrolled through her contacts. She needed help. But who could she trust with something this big and dangerous? Then she saw the perfect name: Dr. Sarah Chen. Sarah had been Clara's best friend at NASA. They had worked together on the Mars rover project, staying up all night to fix computer problems. Sarah was brilliant with technology and loyal to her friends. If anyone would help Clara break into a secret facility, it was Sarah. Clara hit the call button. The phone rang 3 times. Clara. Sarah's voice sounded sleepy. It's almost midnight. Is everything okay, Sarah? I need your help, Clara said. Her voice was shaking. Something terrible is happening, and I don't know who else to call. You're scaring me. What's wrong? Clara took a deep breath and told Sarah everything. The secret meetings, the mysterious building, Project Phoenix, and Maria being a test subject. Sarah listened without saying a word. Time travel? Sarah finally said. Clara, that sounds crazy. Are you sure you read those files right? I know how it sounds, Clara said, but I've seen the blueprints, the equipment. This is real, Sarah. And my sister is missing. Sarah was quiet for a long time. Clara could hear her thinking through the phone. Send me the files, Sarah said at last. All of them. I'll drive down from California tonight. Really, you believe me? I believe that you're scared and that Maria is important to you. That's enough for me. 6 hours later, Sarah knocked on Clara's front door. She looked tired from the long drive, but her eyes were alert and focused. She carried a laptop bag and a duffel bag full of equipment. They spread the Project Phoenix files across Clara's dining room table like puzzle pieces. Sarah studied every blueprint and every document with the careful attention of a scientist. This is incredible, Sarah whispered, looking at the technical drawings. If this actually works, said Clara. Do you understand what this means? It means my husband has been lying to me for months. Clara said bitterly. No, I mean scientifically. We could prevent disasters. We could save lives. We could fix terrible mistakes before they happen. We could also destroy everything. Clara snapped. What if someone changes something important? What if they create a paradox? What if the whole universe breaks? Sarah's face went pale. She was a smart woman. She understood the dangers as well as the possibilities. You're right, Sarah said quietly. This is the most dangerous technology ever created. Which is why we need to get inside that facility, Clara said. We need to find Maria and figure out what they're really doing. How? The security looks impossible. Clara smiled for the first time in days. Not impossible, just difficult. You forget. I used to design security systems for NASA. I know how these places think. They spent the rest of the morning making a plan. It was risky and complicated, but it might work. Sarah would create a distraction at the main SpaceX facility 20 miles away. She would trigger a fire alarm and report a computer emergency. That would pull most of the security guards away from Facility 7, while the guards were busy with the false emergency. Clara would sneak inside during the shift change at 3 p.m. She had stolen a SpaceX maintenance uniform from the main facility. With the right timing and a lot of luck, she could get through the front door. "What if you get caught?" Sarah asked. "Then I go to jail," Clara said simply. "But at least I'll know." What happened to Maria? What if this Project Phoenix thing is actually good? What if they're really trying to save people? Clara looked at her friend seriously. Then why all the lies? Why the secret building? Why the armed guards? If this was about saving people, why couldn't Elon tell me about it? Sarah nodded. She understood. Good projects didn't need this much secrecy. At 2:30 p.m., Clara put on the stolen maintenance uniform and drove to Facility 7. Her heart was beating so fast she thought it might explode. Sarah's voice crackled through the tiny earpiece hidden in Clara's ear. "Fire alarm is active," Sarah reported. "I can see security vehicles leaving the main facility. They're heading your way to help with the emergency." "How many guards are left?" "At Facility 7, Clara asked quietly. "I count to by the front door." "Wait, one of them just got a radio call. He's running to his car. Only one guard left." Clara took a deep breath. "I'm going in." She walked calmly to the side entrance of the building, carrying a fake work order and a toolbox. The remaining guard was distracted by radio chatter about the emergency at the main facility. He barely looked at Clara's stolen ID badge as she swiped it at the card reader. For a terrifying moment, nothing happened. Clara thought the badge wouldn't work. Then the door clicked open with a soft beep. Clara was inside. The hallway was dimly lit and completely silent. Her footsteps echoed off the concrete walls as she walked deeper into the building. She could hear a strange humming sound coming from somewhere below her feet. It sounded like massive machines running underground. She found a staircase and started walking down. The humming got louder with each step. At the bottom of the stairs was a heavy metal door with a sign that said Authorized Personnel. ONLY. Clara's hand shook as she reached for the door handle. Whatever was behind this door would change everything. Once she opened it, there would be no going back. She pushed the door open and stepped inside. What she saw made her gasp out loud and forget to breathe. The underground room was huge. Like an airplane hangar, in the center stood a machine that looked like it came from a science fiction movie. It was shaped like a giant ring, 30 feet across, with thousands of wires and cables connecting it to computer screens around the room. But that wasn't what made Clara gasp. It was the people. 20 workers in white coats moved around the chamber like busy ants. Most wore SpaceX uniforms, but Clara recognized faces from Tesla and Neuralink too. Elon had taken his smartest people from all his companies for this secret project. And there, standing near the control panel, was a woman Clara had never seen before. The woman looked about 35 years old with short black hair and serious dark eyes. She wore a white lab coat and was giving orders to a group of engineers. "Time field stability is at 94%, one engineer reported. "Ready for the next test." "Excellent," the woman replied in a calm voice. "Bring in Subject 7. Clara's heart stopped beating. Subject 7 walked into the chamber wearing a strange suit covered with sensors and wires. It was a woman with dark hair, about Clara's age. It was Maria. Clara almost cried out her sister's name, but she caught herself just in time. She pressed her hand over her mouth and watched in horror. Maria was alive, but she looked different. Older somehow, more tired, like she had aged years in just a few months. "How are you feeling, Maria?" the woman in the lab coat asked kindly. "Ready for another jump, Dr. Tanaka," Maria replied. Her voice sounded strange and distant, though I have to say, ancient Rome was really interesting. The smell took some getting used to. Ancient Rome. Clara's mind spun like a broken computer. Maria had actually traveled through time, multiple times. "Today we're going further back," Dr. Tanaka explained. "Egypt, during the building of the Great Pyramid. You'll be there for exactly 6 hours, then the machine will pull you back." Maria nodded and stepped into the center of the giant ring. The machine began to hum louder, and lights started blinking around the metal circle. Clara knew she had to do something. She couldn't let them risk Maria's life again. But before she could move, Someone grabbed her arm. Clara Martinez Musk. A familiar voice said behind her, "I wondered when you would show up." She spun around to face Dr. Tanaka, who was smiling calmly. "How did you know I was here? Your husband told me you would figure it out eventually. You're too smart not to, and too stubborn to stay away. Where is Elon?" Clara demanded. Dr. Tanaka pointed to a glass room above the chamber, through the windows. Clara could see Elon watching everything below. He looked exhausted, but his eyes were bright with excitement. "He's been here for 3 days straight," Dr. Tanaka said. "This is the most important test yet. You have to stop this." Clara said desperately, "You're risking people's lives. What if something goes wrong? What if Maria gets stuck in the past?" Dr. Tanaka's face became serious. "Clara, do you know why your sister volunteered for this project? Because she's always been reckless." "No, because she's dying." The words hit Clara like a punch to the stomach. "What? Maria has a brain tumor, a bad one that doctors can't remove. She has maybe 6 months to live. But if we can perfect time travel, we can send her back to before the tumor started growing. We can save her life." Clara felt like the room was spinning around her. Maria was dying. How could she not know this? How could Maria not tell her? "There's more," Dr. Tanaka continued. "This technology isn't just about saving one person. Think bigger, Clara. Climate change, nuclear war, diseases that kill millions of people. We could prevent all of it. We could create a better world for everyone. Or you could destroy everything," Clara whispered. "That's why we're being so careful. Every test is planned perfectly. We're not taking crazy risks here, Clara. We're scientists trying to save the world." In the chamber below, the machine was getting close to full power. Maria stood in the center of the ring, ready to jump back 4,500 years into ancient Egypt. 10 seconds to time displacement, an engineer announced over the speakers. Clara looked up at the glass room. Elon was staring down at her now, their eyes meeting through the window. Even from far away, she could see the pain in his face, the heavy weight of all the secrets he had been keeping. 5 seconds. Clara realized she had to make a choice: stop the experiment and possibly lose her sister forever, or let it continue and risk changing all of human history. 3, 2, 1. The machine exploded in blinding white light. When Clara's vision cleared, Maria was gone. But something was wrong. The computers were beeping loudly. Red warning lights flashed everywhere. Scientists were running to their stations and shouting numbers that Clara didn't understand. "What's happening?" Clara asked Dr. Tanaka. Dr. Tanaka's face had gone pale. She was staring at a computer screen that showed a map of ancient Egypt. "The time coordinates are wrong," Dr. Tanaka said quietly. "Maria didn't land where she was supposed to." "Where did she land?" "We don't know. The signal is bouncing around. She could be anywhere in ancient Egypt, or any time in ancient Egypt." Clara felt ice cold. "You mean she's lost?" "We mean we have 6 hours to find her before the machine tries to bring her back. And if we can't locate her exact position." Dr. Tanaka didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. If they couldn't find Maria in 6 hours, her sister would be lost in time forever. Clara stared at the empty ring where her sister had been standing just moments before. The chamber filled with the sound of computers beeping, warnings, and technicians shouting numbers she didn't understand. "Time displacement successful," someone reported. "Subject 7 has arrived at coordinates." "Wait, that can't be right. What's wrong?" Dr. Tanaka demanded, rushing to the main computer screen. "The coordinates keep changing. She's jumping around ancient Egypt like she's bouncing off invisible walls." Clara felt sick to her stomach. "What does that mean?" "It means something is interfering with the time field," Dr. Tanaka explained. "Something we didn't expect." Elon appeared at Clara's side, having rushed down from the observation room. His face was pale with worry. "Clara, I'm so sorry," he said quietly. "I wanted to tell you about Maria's illness, but she made me promise not to. She didn't want you to worry." "How long have you known?" Clara asked. 6 months. She came to me when the doctors said there was nothing they could do. She begged me to help her." Clara felt angry and sad and confused all at the same time. "So you built a time machine." "We built hope," Elon said. The medical technology to cure her tumor won't exist for another 10 years, but if we can send her back to before the tumor started, she could live a normal life. Clara finished. Dr. Tanaka was working frantically at the computer controls. I'm getting some very strange readings. The time field around ancient Egypt is unstable. What kind of unstable? Clara asked. Like, someone else has been there before us. Someone else with time travel technology. The room fell silent except for the humming of machines. That's impossible, Elon said. We invented this technology. We're the first. Are we? Dr. Tanaka asked quietly. How would we know if someone else had it first? Clara's mind raced. If there were other time travelers, if someone had been changing history before them, then everything they thought they knew was wrong. We need to bring Maria back now, Clara said, before something happens to her. The temporal anchor isn't ready, a technician reported. She's supposed to stay for 6 hours to test the stability. Override it, Elon ordered. Bring her home. As the team worked to modify the retrieval system, Clara noticed something on one of the monitoring screens. Strange energy patterns were showing up around ancient Egypt. Far more than Maria's presence alone could create. Dr. Tanaka, she called out. Look at these energy readings. Dr. Tanaka's eyes went wide. Those levels are impossible. Unless what? Unless there are multiple time travelers in the same location, Clara. Your sister isn't alone in ancient Egypt. Before Clara could respond, speakers around the chamber crackled to life. Maria's voice filled the room, but she sounded panicked. Ace, this is Maria. You need to abort the project, right now. Something's happening here that you don't understand, Clara. Grab the microphone. Maria, are you okay? Clara, what are you doing there? Never mind, listen to me. The ancient Egyptians know about time travel. They've been expecting me. They have records of other visitors from the future. Dr. Tanaka leaned into the microphone. What kind of records? Stone tablets with mathematical formulas. Drawings of machines that look exactly like yours. And names, Dr. Tanaka. They have the names of people who haven't been born yet. Clara felt ice in her veins. What names? Mine. Yours. Alan's. Someone has been planning this for thousands of years. The transmission crackled with static. Then Maria's voice came through again, more urgent than before. There's something else. I've learned why I really got sick. The tumor isn't natural. Someone from the future gave it to me on purpose. They wanted me to volunteer for time travel experiments. Clara's world seemed to tilt sideways. That's impossible. Is it? Maria's voice asked. Think about it. How did I happen to get a rare brain tumor at exactly the right time? How did Elon happen to have the resources to build a time machine? How did everything fall into place so perfectly? Dr. Tanaka was studying her computer screens with growing alarm. The energy readings are spiking again. Someone else is making jumps through time. Big ones. Who? Elon demanded. I don't know, but they're changing things, major things. And they're doing it right now. The chamber erupted in chaos as every alarm in the facility began blaring. On the screens, energy readings climbed toward dangerous levels. What's happening? Clara shouted over the noise. Someone is rewriting history. Dr. Tanaka yelled back, changes so big they could affect the present. Clara looked around the chamber at all the brilliant minds who had worked so hard to save one person. And now they might have accidentally started a war between time travelers. Can we stop it? She asked. Not from here, Dr. Tanaka said grimly. Someone would have to go back to ancient Egypt and fix whatever's being changed, then send me. Clara said without hesitation. What? Elon stared at her in shock. Send me back to help Maria. I'm not going to lose my sister to some time war that we started. Clara, it's too dangerous. The time field is unstable. You could get lost forever. Maria is already lost forever if we don't do something. Clara, walk toward the time travel ring. Besides, I'm probably the only person here who might be able to figure out what's really going on. Why? Dr. Tanaka asked. Because I'm the only one who wasn't supposed to be part of this plan. If someone has been planning this for thousands of years, they didn't plan for me. Clara stepped into the center of the ring, her heart pounding. She was about to travel back for 1,500 years to save her sister and maybe the entire world. Coordinates locked, a technician announced. ready for displacement in 10 seconds. As the machine powered up around her, Clara heard Maria's voice one more time through the static. Clara, when you get here, find the man they call the timekeeper. He's the only one who knows the truth about what's really happening. The machine erupted in blinding light, and Clara felt herself falling through time. Clara felt like she was falling through a tunnel made of light and sound. Colors she had never seen before flashed past her eyes. The feeling was like riding the world's most terrifying roller coaster while being struck by lightning. Then, suddenly, she slammed into solid ground. The first thing she noticed was the heat. The desert sun beat down on her like a hammer. The second thing was the smell of dust, sweat, and something else she couldn't identify. The third thing was the pyramid. It rose in front of her like a mountain made by humans. Thousands of workers moved around its base like ants, pulling massive stone blocks with ropes and wooden rollers. The Great Pyramid of Giza was being built right in front of her eyes. Clara. She turned and saw Maria running toward her across the sand. Her sister looked exhausted and sunburned, but alive. Maria, Clara hugged her sister tightly. Are you okay? We've been so worried. I'm fine, but we have bigger problems, Maria said, pulling away. Come on, we need to find somewhere private to talk. They walked away from the construction site to a small grove of palm trees by the Nile River. Maria kept looking over her shoulder like someone might be following them. Okay, Clara said when they were alone. Tell me everything. Who was the timekeeper? What's really going on here? Maria sat down in the shade and took a deep breath. Clara, everything we thought we knew about Project Phoenix is wrong. We're not the first people to invent time travel. We're not even the second or third. What do you mean? Time travel has existed for thousands of years, but there are rules, laws that govern how it can be used, and there's someone who enforces those laws. The timekeeper. His real name is Marcus Aurelius Chen, Maria said. He's half Roman, half Chinese, and he's been protecting the timeline for over 2,000 years. Clara stared at her sister. That's impossible. No one can live that long. They can if they know how to step outside of normal time. Marcus has been jumping between different eras, making small changes to prevent big disasters. He's the reason human civilization didn't destroy itself centuries ago. So he's a good guy. Maria's face went dark. That's what I thought at first. But Clara, he's been manipulating our entire family for generations. What do you mean? Remember how Mom and Dad died in that car crash 5 years ago? Clara felt cold despite the desert heat. Of course I remember. It wasn't an accident. Marcus arranged it. He needed us to be alone in the world, with no family ties to hold us back. He needed us to be desperate enough to take risks. Clara felt like she might throw up. You're saying someone murdered our parents so we would build a time machine, not just someone. The person who's supposed to be protecting history. Marcus has been playing a long game, Clara. He gave me the brain tumor. He guided Elon to the scientific breakthroughs needed for time travel. He's been pushing us toward this moment for years. But why? Clara asked desperately. Because something terrible is coming. Something that will end human civilization within the next 50 years. And the only way to stop it is to break every rule about time travel that has ever existed. Before Clara could respond, the air around them shimmered like heat waves. A man appeared out of nowhere, as if he had stepped through an invisible door. He looked about 50 years old, with graying hair and tired eyes. He wore simple clothes that could have come from any time period, but there was something ageless about him. Something that suggested he had seen more than any human should. Hello, Clara, he said in a calm voice. I'm Marcus Aurelius Chen, but you can call me the timekeeper. Clara jumped to her feet. You killed our parents. I saved 7 billion people. Marcus replied quietly, including versions of your parents who are still alive in parallel timelines. That doesn't make it right, doesn't it? Marcus asked. If you could sacrifice to people to save everyone else on Earth, wouldn't you do it? Clara wanted to hit him, but Maria grabbed her arm. He's not finished explaining, Maria said. Tell her about the war, Marcus. Marcus nodded. There are others, like me, Clara. Other people who learn to travel through time. Most of them follow the rules, make small changes, try to keep history stable. But one of them has gone rogue. What do you mean? Someone is using time travel to rewrite history for their own benefit. They're creating a timeline where they rule the world as an immortal emperor. Every change they make kills millions of people and replaces them with different versions. Clara looked back and forth between Marcus and Maria. How do we stop them? We can't, Marcus said simply. At least, not with the usual methods. The rogue time traveler has too much power, too many resources. They've been building their empire across multiple centuries. So what do we do, Marcus smiled for the first time since appearing. We break every rule. We create a paradox so large it resets the entire timeline. We essentially destroy this version of reality and replace it with a better one. And the cost, everyone who exists now will cease to exist, including us. We'll be replaced by slightly different versions of ourselves who lived slightly different lives. Most people will never know the difference. Clara felt the weight of the decision crushing down on her. Save the world by destroying it. Save humanity by ending everyone who currently existed. There's something else, Maria said quietly. Rogue time traveler, we know who it is. Who? Clara asked out. Marcus and Maria exchanged a look. It's Elon, Maria said. Not our Elon, a version of him from a timeline where Tesla and SpaceX failed, where you never married him, where he became obsessed with using time travel to create a perfect world under his control. Clara felt her knees go weak. My husband is the enemy. Your husband is the only person who can stop the enemy, Marcus corrected, because they're the same person from different timelines. Elon versus Elon. And you're the key to making sure the right one wins. In the distance, Clara could hear the sound of the pyramid construction continuing. Thousands of workers building something that would last for millennia. She was being asked to do something similar, build a new timeline that would last forever. But first, she had to decide if she was willing to sacrifice everything she knew to save everything she loved. Clara sat by the Nile River, watching the ancient Egyptian workers carry stones for the pyramid. Her mind was spinning with everything Marcus had told her. Save the world by destroying it. Stop her husband by fighting another version of him. Make a choice that would affect every person who had ever lived. I need to think, she said quietly. We don't have much time, Marcus replied. The rogue Elon is making changes right now. Every minute we wait, more people die in alternate timelines. How many timelines are there? Clara asked. Millions, Maria answered. Every choice anyone makes creates a new branch of reality. Most of them are very similar to each other, but some are completely different. And in one of those timelines, Elon became evil. Marcus nodded. In his timeline, you never met him. Tesla failed. SpaceX exploded on the launch pad. He lost everything, and everyone he cared about. The pain drove him insane. So he decided to use time travel to fix his failures. Worse than that, he decided to use time travel to make himself the ruler of all realities. He's been conquering timelines one by one, replacing the people in them with versions that worship him as a god. Clara felt sick. And our timeline is next. Our timeline is special, Marcus said. It's the only one where time travel was invented by people who truly care about saving others instead of controlling them. That makes it dangerous to him or useful to us, Maria added. Clara, the Elon we know, your husband, he's the key to stopping this. But only if you can convince him to sacrifice himself. What do you mean? Marcus explained. When two versions of the same person exist in the same timeline, reality becomes unstable. If we bring the rogue Elon here, and your Elon confronts him, one of them will have to cease to exist. You're asking me to let my husband die. I'm asking you to let him choose, Marcus said gently. He's the only one who can match the rogue Elon's knowledge and abilities, but the choice has to be his. Clara closed her eyes and thought about Elon. The man who stayed up all night working on projects to save humanity. The man who had kept Maria's illness secret to protect Clara from pain. The man who had built a time machine out of love for her sister. How do we get the rogue Elon here? She asked. We don't, Marcus said. We go to him. His base is in the year 2157, and a timeline where he rules Earth as an emperor. We'll need to travel there and challenge him directly. And then what? Then we activate the paradox engine, Maria said. The what? Marcus pulled a small device from his coat. It looked like a crystal wrapped in metal wires. This device can create a temporal paradox large enough to reset our entire branch of reality. But it requires two people with identical quantum signatures to activate it. Two Ellens, Clara understood. Exactly. When they both touch the device at the same time, it will erase both of them and create a new timeline where the rogue Elon never existed. Clara stared at the device. Such a small thing to hold the fate of everything. What happens to the rest of us? We get replaced by slightly different versions of ourselves, Marcus explained. Versions who lived in a world where the rogue Elon never caused all this damage. Most people will be exactly the same. Some will be a little different. A few might not exist at all. And some people who died might be alive again, yes, including, possibly, your parents. Clara felt tears in her eyes. The chance to see her parents again. The chance to save Maria without anyone having to sacrifice themselves. The chance to live in a world where Elon never had to carry the weight of impossible choices. But it would mean giving up everything she knew. Her memories, her experiences, her exact version of her marriage to Elon. I need to talk to him, Clara said finally. I need to explain all this to Elon and let him decide. We'll go back to 2020 for first, Marcus agreed. You can have 1 hour with him. Then we go to 2157 to face the rogue Elon. The journey back through time felt different this time. Less chaotic, more controlled. Marcus was guiding their passage through the time stream like a pilot steering a ship. They materialized in the Project Phoenix facility just as Clara had left. Elon was still there, pacing frantically in front of the computers. Clara, he ran to her and pulled her into his arms. Are you okay? What happened? Where's Maria? I'm fine, Clara said, holding him tightly. And Maria is safe. But we need to talk. She told him everything. The truth about Marcus, about the rogue Elon, about the choice they were facing. Elon listened without interrupting, his face growing more serious with each revelation. So you're saying I have an evil twin from another timeline? He asked when she finished. More like an evil you from a timeline where everything went wrong, Clara corrected. And to stop him, you have to be willing to sacrifice yourself. Both versions of you will cease to exist. But in the new timeline that gets created, a better version of you will exist. One who never had to face these impossible choices. Elon was quiet for a long time. Then he smiled sadly. You know what the hardest part is? What? The new version of you won't remember this conversation. She won't remember how brave you were today. She won't know that you traveled through time to save the world. Clara felt her heart breaking. But she'll be happy. And Maria will be healthy. And our parents might be alive. And I'll still get to love you, Elon said. Even if it's a slightly different me loving a slightly different you. He looked at Marcus and Maria. When do we leave? Now, Marcus said. The rogue Elon has started his final assault on our timeline. We have maybe 6 hours before the changes become permanent. As they prepare to jump to 2157, Clara held Ellen's hand tightly. Are you scared? She asked. Terrified, he admitted, but also excited. We're about to save everyone who has ever lived or ever will live. That's worth being scared for. The time machine powered up around them. In a few minutes, they would be in a future ruled by a tyrant who looked exactly like the man Clara loved. Whatever happens, Elon said as the light began to build, I want you to know that loving you was the best thing I ever did. In any timeline, the machine erupted in light, carrying them toward a confrontation that would determine the fate of all reality. Clara squeezed Ellen's hand and prepared to save the world one last time. The year 2157 was nothing like Clara had imagined the future would be. Instead of flying cars and gleaming cities, she saw a world of fear. Giant screens on every building showed the same face, Elon Musk, but not the Elon she knew. This version wore golden robes and a crown. His eyes were cold and cruel. Citizens of Earth. The screens announced, Emperor Musk has declared today a day of celebration. Another timeline has been conquered and added to the empire. Clara, her Elon, Maria, and Marcus stood hidden in the shadows of a ruined building. Around them, people walked with their heads down, afraid to look at the screens. This is what he's done to every timeline he's conquered, Marcus whispered. Everyone becomes a slave to his ego. How do we find him? Clara asked. We don't need to find him, Elon said grimly. He already knows we're here. He's been tracking our time jumps. As if summoned by his words, they around them began to shimmer. Soldiers in black uniforms materialized out of thin air, surrounding them with futuristic weapons. Emperor Musk requests your presence, the lead soldier announced. Immediately, they were transported to a massive palace that had been built where the White House used to stand. Everything was made of gold and marble, designed to show off incredible wealth and power. At the center of the throne room sat the rogue Elon. Clara gasped when she saw him. He looked exactly like her husband, but everything about him was wrong. His smile was cruel. His eyes were empty. He wore clothes that cost more than most people made in a lifetime. Well, the rogue Elon said, standing up from his golden throne. My inferior self has finally arrived. And he brought his little wife. Hello, Nee, Clara's Elon said calmly. Nice place. A bit much, don't you think? I think it's exactly what I deserve. The rogue Elon replied. I am the smartest human who ever lived. I should rule everything and kill millions of people. In the process, peasants die anyway. At least under my rule, their deaths serve a purpose. Clara felt sick listening to this twisted version of the man she loved. You're insane. I'm realistic. The rogue Elon snapped. In my original timeline, I tried to save the world through kindness and cooperation. You know what happened. Everyone betrayed me. My companies failed. My rockets exploded. The woman I loved never even noticed me. He glared at Clara with pure hatred. So, I decided to stop being nice. I learned about time travel and started over. This time, I made sure everyone would obey me. By force, Marcus said. By any means necessary. The rogue Elon pulled out a device that looked like the paradox engine, but bigger and more dangerous. Speaking of which, I know why you're here. You want to use your little reset device. And fortunately, I have one too, and mine is much more powerful. Clara's heart sank. If the rogue Elon had his own paradox engine, their plan wouldn't work. The difference is, the rogue Elon continued, my device doesn't reset reality. It absorbs it. Every timeline I conquer gets added to my power. Soon, I'll be the only version of myself that exists anywhere. That's not possible, Maria said. Watch. Nay, the rogue Elon raised his device. I'm going to erase your timeline right now. Then I'll use the energy to make myself ruler of 10 more realities. Wait, Clara's Elon said. If you're going to kill us anyway, at least tell me how you figured out time travel in the first place. The rogue Elon smiled proudly. Marcus taught me. Of course, the Marcus from my timeline. He was trying to stop me from destroying the world with nuclear weapons. Instead, he gave me the tools to destroy all worlds. Clara looked at Marcus, who had gone pale. You created this monster. A version of me did, Marcus admitted. Every choice creates consequences. Sometimes those consequences are worse than the original problem. Enough talking, the rogue Elon said. He activated his device. And dark energy began swirling around the room. But Clara's Elon was ready. He pulled out their paradox engine and activated it too. Golden light erupted from the crystal, pushing back against the darkness. To paradox engines, the rogue Elon snarled. That's impossible. The feedback will destroy everything. That's the idea, Clara's Elon said grimly. If we can't save reality, we'll reset it completely. Back to the beginning. Give the universe a chance to start over and do better. The two energies clashed in the center of the room. Reality began to crack like broken glass. Clara could see through the cracks to other timelines or versions of Earth where dinosaurs never went extinct, where humans never learned to walk, where the sun was purple instead of yellow. Clara, her Elon shouted over the noise. The engines are locked together. Someone has to hold them both to complete the reset. I'll do it. Clara reached for the devices. No. Both Elons shouted at the same time. Even the evil one didn't want her to die. This is my responsibility, Clara's Elon said. He grabbed both devices, screaming as the energy flowed through him. Elon, stop. Clara tried to reach him, but Marcus held her back. If you touch him now, you'll die too, Marcus said. And the reset won't work. Clara watched in horror as the man she loved was consumed by light and darkness. The rogue Elon was screaming too, his golden robes burning away as both versions of himself were erased from existence. "I love you, Clara," her Elon shouted as his body began to fade. "Find me in the new timeline. I'll be waiting." The palace exploded in white light. When Clara opened her eyes, she was standing in a park in Austin, Texas. The sun was shining. Children were playing on swings. Everything looked normal and peaceful. "Did it work?" Maria asked. She was standing next to Clara, looking confused. "I think so," Marcus said. He looked different too, younger, less tired. "The reset was successful. We're in a new timeline now. But I remember everything," Clara said. "If we were replaced by different versions of ourselves, shouldn't my memories be different too?" "The people who activated the reset keep their memories," Marcus explained. "It's the universe's way of making sure someone remembers what was sacrificed." Clara looked around the park. "So where is he? Where's the new version of Elon?" "Probably at work," Maria said with a smile. "Some things never change." Clara pulled out her phone and called Ellen's number. Her hands were shaking as she waited for him to answer. "Hello." The voice was exactly the same as her husband's. "Elon, it's Clara. Clara Martinez. I was just thinking about you. We met at that conference last week. Remember? I was wondering if you'd like to have coffee sometime." Clara's heart broke and soared at the same time. In this timeline, they weren't married yet. They were just getting to know each other. But that meant she got to fall in love with him all over again. "I'd love to have coffee," she said, tears streaming down her face. "Great. How about tomorrow at 2 p.m.? There's this little place near Spasix." As Elon talked about their date, Clara looked at Maria, who was healthy and glowing with life. She looked at Marcus, who was smiling for the first time since she'd met him. The sacrifice had worked. The world was saved. And somewhere in this new timeline, a version of Elon who had never become a tyrant was asking her out on their first date. Clara wiped away her tears and smiled. "Tomorrow sounds perfect," she told him. "I have so much to tell you." She had no idea how she was going to explain time travel on a first date, but she had the rest of their lives to figure it out. This time, there would be no secrets between them. This time, they would save the world together from the very beginning. And maybe, just maybe, this time they would get their happy ending. We'd love to know where you're listening from. Are you hearing this story from your home, during a commute, or maybe while relaxing somewhere special? Drop a comment and let us know your location. We love connecting with our listeners from around the world. If you enjoyed this emotional journey through time and the power of love conquering impossible odds, please give this video a thumbs up. Your likes help us know which stories touch your hearts the most. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for many more interesting stories like this one. We share tales of courage, love, mystery, and hope that will keep you on the edge of your seat. And here's something special you can do today: share this video with your friends and family. Stories like Clara and Ellen's remind us that ordinary people can do extraordinary things when they choose love over fear. By sharing this story, you're spreading kindness and awareness about the power we all have to make a difference. Thank you for taking this incredible journey with us. Until next time, remember your reaction to life's challenges might be more powerful than you think. See you in the next story.